the people who are getting therapy and don't really need it.
Okay.
What do you think is their thought process? What do you think's going on? Like how do they get to the point where they think they need therapy and then stay in it forever?
Well, I think probably two things, right?
Like how do I know if I need it, I guess?
Right. I think two things. I think one, you can start off legitimately needing therapy for a specific issue. Mm-hmm. And if you talk to people, a lot of times people find therapy, very cathartic because they're getting to talk. Someone is listening to them. Okay. And so for some people, you almost can get addicted to the therapy. And so even once you've processed through through the therapy, you've reached a point where you actually do not need it anymore. You might feel like you do. And that's when the therapist needs to be able to, from the get-go, the therapist needs to be very upfront with the client to say, I'm happy to do therapy with you, but there is the goal is to get you to where you do not need to see me, every week and then every month and then every few, wean you off, right? Like that's the goal of therapy. Okay. Or it should be. I know my thing may be like a little bit of an exception because I'm going once a month for the ability to kind of just, process and say whatever has come up in the last month in my life as a pastor that I can't share or talk with anybody else, but I can with a counselor.
Because you're not allowed to.
I'm not allowed to.
Okay.
And so, but I can with a counselor. And so therefore that's fine. Right. Mm-hmm. And I will be seeing a counselor indefinitely because of that once a month. Mm-hmm. That's all right. But I think for most people, if you're starting out, you're seeing a counselor, you're seeing a therapist, it's good. Okay. You've gotten to a good point, a good place. Let's start weaning you off. Let's start seeing each other less frequently. And then the goal is to completely, not have you there. It's and Melanie and I have done my wife and I have done marriage counseling, and we'll start off doing marriage counseling with people, but the goal is not for us to see that couple forever, right?
Right. Eventually they're going to get married, so it's not premarital counseling anymore.
Or if we are doing actual marital counseling with people, they come to us as a married couple, the goal is for us not to see them forever, right? It's to see them and help them, and then hopefully they find a healing. Or if it's just beyond us, we recommend them to somebody else. But we don't want to be seeing people forever. Okay. So I do think people can kind of get addicted to it almost. One, or they don't have a therapist that just is. What
are they addicted to?
Having someone just listen to them.
That's it?
Yeah. It's amazing. People, there's just people that just genuinely, I guess they feel like they don't have someone that listens to them.
You can talk to Chat GPT.
Well, you can now. So maybe Chat GPT takes over. Yeah. I don't know.
Duh.
But I think for a lot of people, just being able to say it and have someone, enter into that space with them and hear them means something to people. And I would say I get that to a degree. And again, as a Christian in a church, I'm going, and that's why we need discipleship.
Okay.
That's why we need a place where you can gather with other people and on a regular basis and say, hey, here's what I'm going through. Can you pray for me or pray for my family or pray for this situation? Right? Then you're kind of getting the same thing without it being a full 45-minute thing. You're not paying somebody. You're there with others. You've got a relationship with them. You can confide in them, and then they can pray with you. And so I do think people kind of get connected or hooked on being able just to share and talk. But then I do think there are individuals that just feel like they just constantly need it.
Okay.
And I think somebody needs to tell them, you actually don't. I know you feel like you do, but you...
Like a therapist.
Like a therapist needs to tell them, no, you don't. A therapist needs to be honest, right?
But they're not. Because you're paying them.
Well, no.
And they have a slot open on Wednesdays that they need to fill.
And that can happen for some. Right? Obviously that happens for some. But I would hope that not all are sitting there going, yep, we're just going to keep meeting until you don't feel like you need me anymore.
Okay.
I think that would be sad.